Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about Hypercarry Valla, the build and the playstyle, and why so many people are doing it wrong and how to do it correctly, and why people would go this build over another build. So to start off, I'm going to explain what hypercarry means and why it's even a term to begin with. So hypercarry is a term that's been a thing for a long time. In fact, the first time I ever heard it was in League of Legends back in Season 1, where people would run a composition called Protect the Kog'Maw. And Kog'Maw was this long-range turret hero who did percent health damage, but he was very immobile. Think of a Sergeant Hammer, essentially. And he would just do so much damage as long as you could protect him. Well, the general idea of hypercarry in this game is the same thing. It's been used in the competitive scene for all the way back until 2015, and it's been used since then, where they would take one assassin in the team, they would run two supports or two tanks to make sure that your team comp can keep your assassin alive. And you'd pick an assassin who can do a ridiculous amount of damage. And they would usually pick a hybrid source of damage, something that would do a little bit of physical and a little bit of magical damage or spell damage, because you never want to make your hypercarry, your one damage that you're doing, be countered. So, for example, there were times where Illidan was used as a hypercarry, but then people started running Lili against it, and then he would get shut down very easily. So you can't commit all of your resources into someone like Illidan. So time and time again, we've had Valla be used as the hypercarry, and there is one build in particular that is used over and over and over for hypercarry. Now, this is a real ranked game that I am playing on my Smurf. Now, we've seen hypercarry build for Valla work a million times over in the competitive scene, but I want to show you guys that this build works in ranked in all sorts of ranks. So I will show you guys that I did this on my Smurf. Unfortunately, I can't log back into my main account for a little while. Then I would have to edit and everything. So I'm not going to show you guys my main account, but I've played this build several times on my main account and several times on my Smurf, and it works very, very well. The downside is that it's squishy. You're going to have to let your team take some deaths for you. You're going to have to let your team take some throws for you, and that's okay. Your goal on this build is to do safe damage for as long as you can and to abuse the benefits of this build. So what does this build give you, and what do you need to do with the things that it gives you? One of the important pieces that you get at level 1 is Hot Pursuit. When you're at 10 stacks of hatred, which I'm currently at, I will move 20% faster and I will gain 4 mana per second. Well, I don't cast a lot of abilities, so when I do cast a lot of, I cast a decent amount of abilities. So I want to keep that mana regen going because I never want to have a point where I don't have the damage I need. In this case, the enemies control this bottom lane, so I want to keep playing aggressive, but I also can't walk into that bush or I get thrown and killed. So I'm going to instead try to keep us two, keeping those three down here. As long as we can do that, then we're going to be favorable for the rest of this game because the enemies are going to be so focused. You notice that I focus heavily on stutter stepping, where I walk away, I'm moving away, and I don't ever take too much damage in these fights. Hypercarry often is ran with a Tassadar or Zarya to protect you from burst damage, and an Ariel to keep you healing as long as you're doing damage, which you'll be doing damage the entire fight. You can see I'm holding off about 3 people here with just an Ariel. One thing to note is that at level 4, you're going to be taking punishments, so you do increased damage with your W whenever you have your hatred stacked, and your E also does increase damage with your hatred stacked. If I had my W available, I could have actually just killed that Rainer by jumping in EW, but then I would have been in throw range to die. So you're going to notice that I try to keep my E available to stay out of throw range. The damage is going to be very, very high sustained damage and a decent amount of burst at the same time. You'll notice the burst starts getting really important when I get to around level 10. I'll get very, very bursty. So the goal of this build is to continue auto-attacking the safest target possible for as long as possible. You only go for a target that is, you only commit to a kill when a target is getting really, really low. Then you can charge in and do everything. Let's talk about the next piece of the build. Punishment. This is going to be increasing your sustained damage to their entire team while also giving you a huge amount of burst. Watch the amount of burst that I can have to their team if they try to walk up too early. Arsenal is honestly just the only talent that you want on this tier ever, and this is kind of where this build grew, is because you don't want to take these two talents when you're hypercarry, mainly because you don't want to be using your vault outside of using it for an escape. So Arsenal is very, very good. It increases the damage you do with an extra possibility of doing 480 more damage at level 7. And then you also will be lowering the cooldown of your W, which is doing a lot of burst damage. Level 10, you're going to be taking Reign of Vengeance. We'll get into that stuff when we get there. If you notice, I go back and forth. Level 1, I did take a camp for my team by myself. And then as we get further and further into this game, I'm just focusing and doing damage. Look at how much damage I do to him in such a small amount of time. And I did vault to get that crit off on the enemy, but it is putting me in a really tricky situation. I focus on the target that's safest for me to attack, and then I switch over to another target that's safe. I throw my Q out, and then I use my auto attack and my crit to finish off that guy as well. You can see the damage that I do is incredibly high in this build. It does so much damage. It really does, guys. Yeah, nice heals. Nice heals, nice tanking, but let's not mention the fact that I'm doing double everyone's damage. There we go. Thank you, Dark. I appreciate it. I appreciate the noticement. At this point in the game, we just pretty much get ahead. We did so much damage in the early game, and this isn't even when this build comes online. The build truly comes online at level 16. And that's the crazy part about this build. It just keeps getting better and better and better and better. It starts off doing a decent amount of burst. You'll see me use my ult a lot to burst people, but I also use it just to prevent myself from dying. Vault, I rarely do this, and this ends up getting me killed. He baited me really good here. Props to that Garrosh. He baited me really, really well. Normally, you don't want to dash in unless you can finish someone off, but I dashed in, threw it, didn't finish him off because he had armor, and then he did W to heal himself before I got my W off, and he just punished me hard. So, and this Garrosh does bait me quite a few times. There are actually really good players in Gold and Plat. I just find a lot of times they're inconsistent. So they might be good, but they're not consistently good. They'll have issues that'll pop up. And in this case, we pick up a nice Dragon Knight. I don't use my W to push him back because I don't want to send him flying. I want my team to get the longest amount of time to deal damage. I go up top first so that both turrets don't shoot me at the same time. Then I go down to bottom and I start hitting that turret second. The only time you want to tank both of the turrets is when your team is going to be pushing together. But I usually don't like doing that in the early portions of the game when the Dragon Knight doesn't have that much damage. Or health, I mean. We're going to take out this fort just so it's easier to get anything that we need, and I won't need to focus on this lane very much anymore. I'll knock Malthael away because he does do % health damage. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing here. I should just be going bot and clearing this. Oh, I'm going to use my Q to kill that turret and then walk away. Help them clear this. I think I'm just trying to get value out of this without being in a bad position when I get low health. Or when the timer runs out. Like, the timer's about to run out. So I need to walk away. In this case, I got a nice value out of that health bar. The one downside about Hypercarry Valla is it takes you a while to ramp up your damage. So you'll see sometimes I'll auto-attack a few times before I fire any of my abilities off. Because your W does more damage, your E does more damage when you have more stacks of hatred. You do get that extra 20% movement speed, so you can chase down just about anyone that you want to, if you want to. Level 13. Now, this is where it's going to shift. If you are actually running Hypercarry in a team composition with like a Tassadar, with an Ariel, when you can trust your entire team, you're going to be running Gloom. Gloom's going to help you prevent that burst, and then the Tassadar and everyone else is going to make sure that you stay topped off at all times. Tempered by Discipline is what I take when I'm queuing with randoms and I don't know who they are. I will take Tempered by Discipline as it will allow me to heal myself in case the enemies dive on me and I'm not sure if I'm going to be getting any heals. It also just helps me survive through a lot of poke and I can just continue to push in. And again, I don't need to rely on any heals. So especially in low ranks, you're going to be taking this talent. The higher ranks you go, you're going to switch over to Gloom. In fact, on my main account, when I do Hypercarry, even in solo queue, I often take Gloom. But in low ranks, I tend to take Tempered by Discipline. If they have more poke, I think I'll go with that. If they have more spell damage, I'll go with that. But in general, it shifts. Getting your stacks of hatred before firing W is not necessary, especially if you're going to be doing like a camp where you know you're going to be able to fire a W and then get a few auto attacks and then a W. It's sometimes best to just fire your W first, but sometimes when you can, try to auto attack. If you're playing with a Hypercarry Valla, don't kill walls. Because if we kill all the minions and I need to keep the stacks of hatred going, I'm going to walk up and do one auto attack to a wall and then walk back. This will allow me to keep my 10 stacks of hatred going for even longer. So if you're ever playing with a Hypercarry Valla, don't ever attack walls. Now, I'm not calling out Ariel because Ariel attacked walls so that she could get her energy up. So it's not necessarily her fault. She did something that she felt she needed to do so that she could have a heal ready for when we needed it. But if you're playing someone who doesn't need to attack walls, try not to attack walls because it's going to give me another tool to keep my hatred going. But yeah, if you like playing like sustained damage, if you like the Q build, Sylvanas build, that's redundant, but you know what I mean. Q build on Sylvanas, you're gonna really like this this Hypercarry build. A lot of people have been showing me this build, and there's this build that's really popular on Heroes Profile, where you take Hot Pursuit at 1, then you take Creed, and then you start going into straight auto attack, and then you go into Manticore. So you end up having the extra attack speed from Creed, and then you'll have the extra attack speed from like Rancor, and then you'll be hitting them with Manticore. I'm going to tell you the reason why this isn't used for Hypercarry is because you're only doing damage to one person, and it's not very safe. And you don't get this quest done a lot of times unless the enemies are playing really, really bad. And if they're playing really, really bad, then this build's going to be this scary, right? So the punishment build that I'm already running is going to be this scary if the enemies are playing bad. So Creed is almost never better than just running the W build, unless maybe you're going against Deathwing and you need that % health. But even against Deathwing, I still run this basic build. And my reason why is because I can safely attack one person and deal damage to their entire team at the same time. Plus, Deathwing's a big enough target, your grenades are likely going to be hitting him anyways and lowering your cooldowns. But whenever people walk in to you and they're out of position, this build, look at this burst. He was full health. They were full health. W is going to be hitting all of them for damage. It's also going to be hitting them with grenades. I stun them with Rain of Vengeance. I fire off a Q, which is going to hit them. And my auto attacks right now are going to be doing like 400 damage or something crazy. Look at that damage. It's insane. It is incredibly high. We go back to pushing as well. The goal with this build is to never stop attacking, really. You attack whatever's safe, and then when you see them making mistakes, you go all in and you punish them. You will get punished sometimes from it, so you got to learn. Like this Garrosh, he baits me like 3 or 4 times this game. He really gets me. But this Hypercarry build is super strong. I mean, we can still look back at damage again. This build hasn't even hit its point yet. Still doubling everyone's damage. And we haven't even hit the point where this build... Oh, I guess we did hit it now. So we take Frost Shot. Frost Shot's taken for really 2 reasons. One, so that you can hit everyone on their team while safely auto-attacking their tank. You're going to be melting down their entire team while safely auto-attacking their tank. 2, the slow's not terrible. It's not really picked for the slow. It's picked for the range, but the slow's not terrible. Being able to just throw your W out and hit everyone while also slowing them is pretty nice. When you pick this up, you can safely attack whoever is in front and whoever's, again, safe to attack. Then you can use your W to just kill everyone. We got a nice little gust there. We would have killed him anyways with Vault, but now we don't need to use our Vault that way. We can use our Vault to finish off this Rainer, or we can use our Vault to just simply attack. You can see once we hit 10 stacks of Hatred, it's very easy to get our health back with the Tempered by Discipline. This talent's also not terrible for getting cams. You'll lose about 80% of your health on bruisers before it triggers, but then you'll gain the majority of your health back. Great Ancestral by the Rhaegar. Great positioning for the Garrosh to take out Muradin, and also I believe he ends up killing me here, but I could be wrong. Nah, we get a nice kill though. Yeah, here we go. I think I used my dash, and then he just walks up, slows with his R, and kills me. Nope. Misremembering this game. I've actually been playing a lot of Hypercarry Valla. This is another one of those specs that lately I've had a very high win rate with, and I've been using it to rank up on both of my accounts. But yeah, Frost Shot's super good. Now, level 20, there are two options that you can go for. I mean, I never see people take this, but maybe that's a third option. I don't know. Maybe if they've got something that you need to interrupt a lot, like a Chen or something. Rancor and Farflight. I recommend taking Farflight 9 times out of 10. It's just safer. And once you get this talent, you pretty much remove the major weakness from Valla. Valla has two weaknesses. She's one of the best hyper carries in the game. She has high sustain and burst. Her downside is that she has short range and low health. This gets rid of one of her weaknesses. Giving her 2.2 extra range is going to set her up having some of the highest range in the game, allowing you to stay very far back and still get a lot of value. Now, there is one thing to notice though. When you get that extra range, your W is going to be, it's not going to be hitting as many targets. So just keep that in mind. You might need to step up before you do Ws and then step back again and start auto attacking from a longer range. But I still love this talent so much because it's just really gets rid of one of your major weaknesses. Watch how these fights go. Seriously. They're all full health except for this one person back here. I'm just pelting away at Garrosh, and watch when I start casting my abilities. My ult goes out first, stunning everyone on their team, doing a little bit of damage. My W goes out next. Look at that. 658, 548, 553, 340, 499. I did 6 sets of damage in a second. Then I'm also going to fire off my Q. I'm going to auto attack. It's going to lower the cooldown of my multi-shot. And I'm going to immediately Rain of Vengeance again. Rain of Vengeance. I didn't even need a Rain of Vengeance. So much damage. And again, the range throws me off a little bit when I do get that range buff. Because there's a lot of times that I will, I'll miss my ult and I'll miss my W after I get level 20. So try to practice with both because it is important to know those. I step up so I can get my hatred going. I'm going to auto attack once. I can wipe the wave. You also wipe waves really quickly. When I'm in this build, one of my tools that I normally wipe waves, if you're not expecting a fight anytime soon, you just need to wipe a wave, just do a W and an R. Auto attack it so you can buff up the damage of your W, do a W and an R, and it'll wipe the wave instantly, and it'll pick up the globes because you're killing things. Again, don't be this Jaina. It's not a big deal, but it can get really beneficial if you're in a team fight that the enemies try to walk away for a little bit to drop hatred, and then you can just slap a wall for a second and you can keep hatred going for a much longer time. But it's not the end of the world if things die. But yeah, guys, this is the build here. It's a lot of fun. There are other Valla builds that are okay, but this build is just so good. Q build is still the best racing build in the game. You want to go that build for Valla. But as far as if you want to actually do all the damage of your team, this build is just so good. So he just walks right in, even though we did lose our Jaina and they gust. He loses about half his health before we can even get up there. And so this isn't great for us. And I end up getting a little too close there because I was expecting them to show up. Do double stun, I could dash, and then if I got one more W off, I probably would have killed one person, maybe two. I had a game recently where there was an Ariel who had the upgrade to the Resurrect at level 20 and kept surviving, kept just staying down here and fighting two people, and every time that he died, he just rezzed himself and then continued, and it would take him 40 seconds to kill him, so he just kept rezzing over and over and over. He literally kept two people on their team there for like, I want to say 4 or 5 minutes straight. It was hilarious. This game is where I start making a lot of mistakes, but again, this is kind of low rank. It's hard to explain to your team where you should be, what you should do. And I'm also not typing, so I can't complain at all. I'm not in voice comms and I'm not typing. So I cannot blame my team for the fact that it takes us another 6 minutes to end this game. But you'll see like the damage numbers just keep getting higher and higher. And again, you can see I dash forward an R, which normally works, but because I'm at a further range, I tend to miss it. Use your W to slow people if you ever have that opportunity. The enemies have double cams. We try to end again, which seems sketch because we don't really have anyone else dead, and we throw one more time. Right as they gust, I say just back out of that. I mean, we do a lot of damage, but yeah. And again, I'm not typing. I cannot complain about this. If you don't type and tell your team what to do before they die, all of your failures are on you, honestly. Like you can't complain after something like a bad call is made because you didn't make a call, you know? Never complain that a bad call was made if you're not going to make a call to begin with. Same thing, I'm not typing, so I can't complain. I believe I do make one call this game. Yeah. So this is what I say. I say don't go in with DK until the team is near. Why did our last 2 DKs die? Because the DK went in before we got there. He said we were dead. I said don't go in until we get there. I said it's only ever 2 of us pushing with DK. So I make one call for my team, and that's it. So and again, like, I can't complain. I'm not complaining. I gave my team an answer to the problem that we were having. That's it. I do ping things, though. We almost lost a keep from that, but that's not a big deal. Again, I can't complain. I think it's like the biggest thing is like, and same thing with getting tilted. I've noticed recently the thing that tilts me the most is long queue times after I lose a game. That tilts me more than anything. So in order for me to like fix that, I need to like not do that. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm probably watching a show or something. I really don't remember. Actually, I think I was recording this game initially, and I didn't like the recording of it. It was fun because I could tell people what was going on, but I had a lot of dead space, like time that the stuff that I've fast forwarded through in this game is stuff that I would have just sat and like not done anything, or like there was just times where I just wasn't talking, or there was times where I was just sitting there. But yeah, this. He's got some good gusts, but now watch this damage. I mean, look at this. They were all full health. I did a W. All of them are half health. I do an ult to lock this guy down. 617 damage. Use my Q. Another ult locks him down. Another W. Look at this. I mean, like, even though our Muradin's dead, just look at how much damage I'm doing. Dead, dead. Next target. I have that extra movement speed. I slow him down. Boom, dead. Next one's dead. You know, it's just you kill after kill after kill after kill because you have that extra movement speed. You're slowing their whole team, and you're dropping them. Yeah, I think we should go just through middle here. And again, I can't complain if they don't go there because I'm not making any calls. I'm getting some hatred here, though, but there's no walls to keep the hatred going, so it'll probably drop before we get to the core. I would have auto-attacked the wall right there once to keep my hatred going. So, guys, what do you do when you're on the team with Valla? Don't kill walls. Walls are your friend. As far as the build, this is the full build. I don't usually recommend changing anything in this build. Other than this talent, I'll change to Spell Armor. If I'm confident that I'll be getting a lot of heals, and I'm confident that I won't be taking a lot of poke. As far as the damage done, doubling everyone's damage. And also getting the kills. You do everything you need to do as a hypercarry, which is exactly what a hypercarry is supposed to do. You are supposed to be the only carry necessary for a team. If you guys are looking at builds for your NGS team, and you want to run something different, try this out on maps like Volskaya, maps like Braxis, where you can keep everyone grouped up for a large portion of the game. Draft a Tassadar. Draft an Ariel. And then draft just a tank that can keep you going. And watch how this runs, especially if you have a good Valla player. Someone who's confident on Valla, likes stutter stepping, has good positioning. This is a really fun build to play, and it's very, very good. Teams like Team Freedom use this build all the way through the competitive scene. We've seen this build all the way back We had to protect a hammer comp for a while. We've seen this build forever. But this is me showing you that it still works in non-competitive scene. It is still a very powerful build. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now, you don't need to be the Hypercarry. Sorry. Gotta interrupt. Hypercarry doesn't mean that you are going to pick it in any comp. I was not the Hypercarry this game. I was just an assassin. That's all I was. A Hypercarry means that you are the one carry in your team. But this is the build that is used in that, so it's called the Hypercarry build. I did not create this build. This build has been around for a long time and has just had slight variations among the years. I'm just explaining what Hypercarry is, how to play it, and this is the build that I recommend to play a Hypercarry in a competitive team, but it does still work in a normal Storm League environment. Thank you guys so much. The sponsor for this episode is Join Honey. We're past Christmas shopping and all of that, but if you still want to support the channel and you do want to do a little bit of shopping and save some money, it's an app that is completely free. You download it on your web browser on Chrome, Opera, Firefox, and Edge if you're one of those people, and you will be able to instantly save money on any of the websites that it's on. It will look for coupon codes for you. It will tell you when things are more expensive than they normally are, and you can set drop lists, which means that you can say, hey, you know what, I want this air fryer, but I don't want to spend more than $80 on this air fryer. I'm going to set a notification that if this goes below $80, they're going to shoot me an email and I can forget about it. And then out of nowhere, a sale pops up. It's $70. They send you an email. You pick it up. And you're good to go. So not only does it look for coupons for you, it has a bunch of other features. Check it out at my link, joinhoney.com/ref/NotParadox. Link will also be in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and feel free to check out all of my other videos.